Okay, so we are live, or we should be, across all the platforms. And so if you guys are tuning in live, let us know that you're seeing us. Let us know where you're checking in from. Drop a comment. If you're over on YouTube, your comments should push right through without much effort. If you're on Facebook, let StreamYard know who you are. Give StreamYard privileges to your Facebook, and that way your comments will flow through in real time, tagged with your name. Otherwise, we either don't see them or they come in as anonymous. So that's been the challenge with these lives, although they're great as far as an ability to outreach across the platforms. They are a little bit challenging with regard to interaction and getting comments back in real time from you guys. So if you can, please do that, and we will give it just a little bit here while we wait for folks to check in. And then I'm going to hit you guys with some solid notes today. Some of you might have seen I posted these over on Instagram late yesterday, early this morning. Put a lot of thought into this and how I'm going to deliver this message. So excited to bring you guys a ton of value today. Behind on my water, it's only bottle 2 of 4 today. Normally by this time, I'm through both bottles and more than halfway into my 1 gallon of water consumption for the day, but a little bit slow today. Okay. All right, we'll give it just a few more seconds. I see some more people trickling in, but no comments so far. Jermise, if you see comments that aren't making it through into the into StreamYard, let me know if we're losing them somewhere between Facebook and the StreamYard.
Will do. I'm keeping an eye out for them.
Okay. I've got to open another screen as well. G, congratulations.
Oh, thanks.
So Jermise graduated. Well, she should be walking today. But unfortunately, as is the case for all class of 2020 grads, there won't be a formal celebration, but we celebrate you today and your accomplishment after many years of hard work.
Finally finished. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And it's been a long time. I remember when you were first in undergrad, when we started with us back at the restaurant.
Yeah, back at Montclair State. Yeah, that feels like forever ago. Mm-hmm. But yeah, finally finished, bringing things full circle. I mean, even though I'm not walking, still feels good to say it's done.
Yeah, I liked your post about seeing it through. That was really good.
Thank you. Thought it'd be a good message for people.
There's a lot of 2020 grads that aren't getting to walk today, and this, not just today, this month, and I don't know when typically like high school and middle school and stuff would be done, but you don't want people out there to think any less of the accomplishment because they're not walking. I remember insisting on not walking because I was too proud to walk when I graduated, and now thinking about it, that was an opportunity I kind of regret missing out on.
I never knew that you missed that, but yeah, it's like one of those things that, I mean, I guess you could go back to school and get another degree, but in 2020, it's just like one of those, just another moment that, you know, I guess you missed. Like I was looking forward to it, and now we're doing a virtual thing, but it's a slideshow. It's not the same thing.
Yeah, very different. That's the case in a lot of what we have going on. And you know what? That kind of transitions into what we're going to talk about today. And some things are like core stuff that doesn't change. And we're going to talk on a bunch of those things today. But then there's some things that do require change, do require a pivot. especially in the environment in which we find ourselves today. And so we'll touch on a little bit of both. I just want to kind of open with the topic and just remind people what we're doing with this whole exercise. This is an attempt on our part to give a hand up to other entrepreneurs, small business owners, agents, investors, anyone in our sphere and anyone in the periphery, anyone an extension of that is that's just trying to scale, that's trying to build something. And we dig into traction and the entrepreneur's operating system. Each week we'll unpack a different concept. Last week we introduced the model and the 5 components of the model, and we had a couple of really cool questions come in after the fact on it, and I'll unpack some of that as well today as we dive into a new concept, which is letting go of the vine. That's the topic. That's the title of today's live. And so to tell a quick story, so the letting go of the vine concept comes from a story of an entrepreneur just pushing headstrong into everything, like we all often do, running straight off a cliff and just as he's falling, grabbing a hold of a vine and then shouting up, is anybody up there? And so a voice says, sure, we're here, let go. And then the entrepreneur says, is anybody else up there? So the concept therein is like, do you have faith that someone other than you can save you, can help you, can do anything that you need done in your business in this context, but it applies beyond business, obviously. So the message, the topic is, the title is letting go of the vine. The message therein is faith and a belief in something, which faith defined as a belief in something you cannot see. So do you believe that someone other than you can do this stuff that's bogging you down? And in a couple of the posts that I dropped leading up to this live, I mentioned Superman syndrome. And, I said we would unpack that. And that's essentially what it is. Superman syndrome is you leaning in and just going a million miles an hour through everything, micromanaging, thinking that no one else can do it as well as you, and being a jack of all trades and a master of none. You can't possibly be operating in your unique ability when you're doing a whole host of things, everything essentially. And so this will resonate with a lot of small business owners, because I know that's exactly what they're doing, especially now, right? If you go into any restaurant where you might be picking up food and you're seeing the owner behind the counter, he's cooking the food, he's packing the food, he's ringing you up, he's answering the phone, he's doing everything. So what are 4 core beliefs you kind of need to subscribe to then understand the concept of and believe in letting go of the vine? And so the first is that you need to build a true core leadership team that is better at everything than you are. And there will, of course, be that 1, 2, or 3 things that you're better at than anyone else. And those are the things you should, of course, focus on and continue to do. But do you have a core leadership team in place that offsets all of your weaknesses so that way you can operate in your strengths? What's that look like? So a core leadership team is comprised of people, like I said, that are absolutely better at it than you are. They subscribe to the concept of extreme ownership, the whole Jocko Willink Navy SEAL model, right? It's always your fault. Anything that's your responsibility that doesn't go the way it should is, your fault, right? So extreme ownership. Does your core leadership team present a united front? Are there mixed messages at the top? And if so, is everybody else confused? Are your customers confused? Are employees or vendors confused? Because at the top, everybody's not on the same page. And then what is expected, clear expectations. So what's expected of each person in each role on the team? So again, it's having a core leadership team, having clear, concise expectations of each of the people on the team being an expert in their function, in their role, extreme ownership, just understanding what's expected of them, but then also owning that responsibility through and through, and then presenting a united front to everybody on the outside, customers, clients, employees, vendors, whatever the case is. So that's the first core belief, is the importance of a true leadership team. Second core belief is that you on your own will at some point hit a ceiling. This is a big one that I see a lot of entrepreneurs, small business owners, people that we interact with a lot, kind of struggling with, because they don't necessarily realize that they've even hit the ceiling, and they always believe that they're capable of more. That's an inherent belief in a lot of visionary type small business owners and entrepreneurs, is that they're always capable of more. And the reality is that you absolutely are, but at some point you individually will hit a ceiling. You departmentally and like overall as an organization will hit a ceiling. You'll redline. And so what happens then is either you burn out and fall away, or you stop producing at the level that you're capable of, or the organization as a whole loses momentum. So you have to, as an owner, subscribe to that belief that it's inevitable that at some point you'll hit max capacity. When you do, what then? So 5 core components will unpack. How do you break through that ceiling with your team? Like, you, again, have gotten as far as you can get on your own. You have to come to that belief. If you believe that, then how now as a team do you guys push past that? Well, 5 simple things. Simplicity. Less is always more. Keep it simple. Delegate and elevate. So delegate the things that you're not good at to people in your world that are better than you at them. And I promise you, there are people around you that are absolutely better than you at most everything you think you're great at. Live in a 90-day world. So kind of predict things in manageable chunks. Use 90 days because that's about as long as most people can wrap their head and hands around. 90 days is a great quarterly kind of window to work in. Systematize your processes. Take a lot of the unnecessary noise out of the process. Save the decision-making capacity that you and your team have for the things that require it for issue resolution, not for simple tasks. So we're talking about in turn then milestone templates, checklists, worksheets. Put those processes in place so you can execute on those. And like I said, save the decision-making capacity that you need for those needle mover type things. And then a very clear structure. And when I say structure, I think about like accountability and are the right people in the right seats and who's responsible for a specific function in your organization. And then don't have people stepping on one another's toes. So again, those 5 core principles are how you progress through that ceiling. So simplicity, delegate and elevate, predict in kind of a 90-day world, systematize, process-driven lists, worksheets, templates, milestones, and then clear structure with associated accountability. So that's so therein are 2 of the 4 core beliefs. The third is subscribe to one and only one operating system. And so this came up after we wrapped up last week's call. I had someone reach out to me on Instagram trying to understand what is an operating system? What's that even mean? What's it comprised of? And then why only one? Well, I think what it's comprised of is everything that runs your organization. How frequently or infrequently are you meeting? What's the meeting cadence and frequency looking like in your organization? What are your goal setting practices? How do you prioritize the things that you guys are trying to accomplish as an organization? How is the vision for the future of the organization being crafted and then casted to the organization, to the people that you work with. How do you guys talk about what it is that you even do? That's a huge piece of our operating system. Is we have a clear naming convention for everything that we do. How do you guys, what acronyms do you use? Something as simple as that. Is everybody speaking the same language in your organization? And then are people that are coming in from the outside doing project work, do they understand that? Or is every time someone new is introduced into your model, is there some sort of hurdle that needs to be jumped? Is there communication breakdowns? And then therein lies the last piece, right? The communication, like, are the messages finding their way to everybody in the organization in a clear and concise fashion? Are you cascading the messages to everybody in a way that makes sense? So then that third core belief is that you can operate with one and only one operating system. We want something that's not convoluted, something that's straightforward, and something that everybody in the organization subscribes to. And so that's the third core belief that when, like I said, we'd gotten some questions on that. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time on that, unpacking what we already introduced you to, which is the core, the operating system that this whole thing is based on. That was last week's call. And here I'm telling you why it makes sense, right? And what it looks like. And then the fourth core belief, is that you have to be just completely open-minded, learning-based, radically honest, and transparent in your organization to be able to essentially let go of the vine. So if there's ego in any capacity, you're limiting what's possible, either within the organization, with your personal growth and development, with the development of the team, with what's possible for you as an organization. We have to, of course, first and foremost, like, strip down all of that ego piece, and then understand that we absolutely we do not know everything. Let's go look to people that do for honest feedback. Let's be open to the receiving of and discussion of that feedback. We have to understand that we don't know it all. And that requires, like I said, radical honesty and transparency, just being vulnerable. Are you open to change? Is that something you like to say, but realistically you're afraid of change or afraid of shifts? Well, if that's the case, your world just got rocked by COVID, right? You could say you're open to change, but as of a few weeks ago, you had no choice but to change. Your organization likely looks nothing like it did before this. Your business has probably been flipped on its head. Not everybody's, but some have. Some have been impacted less than others, but in some measure, everybody's been impacted by what's happened here. So whether you subscribe to change or not, like, you've had to adapt, or you haven't and you've just gone away. And then the last piece, which I kind of touched on already, was are you growth oriented? Are you learning based? Is everybody on the team learning based? Is it about constantly evolving and ever learning new things, new strategies, tips, tactics? Are we willing to implement a new process, or are we stuck on the processes that have got us to where we are? Because there's a lot of things that serve you and they'll get you where you are, but they're not going to get you where you want to go. Again, therein lies that, like, piece on change. So just to bring it all full circle, I don't want to belabor that point, right, on being open-minded and growth-oriented and just, vulnerability. That's it's a pretty simple concept. But so to let go of the vine, to genuinely do that, you have to have these four core beliefs. First, that a true core leadership team is essential. They have to be better at it than you are. And I promise you that there are people out there that are better at a lot of things than you think that you are, right? The ceiling will be hit if you do not do that. And when it is hit, how do you push through? If you have an operating system, you can have only one. What does it look like? What are the individual parts and pieces of it? And that's a big one. And like I said, we introduced the model last week. We are unpacking it a bit more today, but going forward, we're really going to spend time on that each week. That's essentially what this will be about. And are you radically honest and transparent? You know, is there room for ego in your organization? And, you know, it absolutely should not be. If there is, you're limiting not just you know, individually your growth, but the growth of your team and ultimately your entire organization. So those are the 4 core beliefs. That's the concept of letting go of the vine, and just the big piece on faith. And so I hope that everybody who's listening has a little bit more clarity on what the concept is. And my real hope is that you subscribe to this, because if you don't, hitting the ceiling is inevitable. Like, you just absolutely cannot do any more on your own than you likely have done at this point. And this is not a message for everyone. Some are solopreneurs and are absolutely content there. And if that's the case, and they should be, if that's what serves them, then this message isn't necessarily for them. It's if you're looking to grow and scale. And that was something that I did put in a lot of these these video drops, and these, you know, as we led up to this, and the emails that went out, and however you found us, you likely saw that message. If you're looking to grow and scale, then this message is for you. So, I mean, I see some comments coming in, and I'll just kind of throw it to Jermise for a second here. What are you seeing come across? Anything in particular we should unpack, G?
Where are you seeing the comments? Because I don't see them on Facebook.
That's where they are. They're on my Facebook. Amanda said, "Happy graduation." You're getting some love.
Thanks, Amanda. I get a shout out.
I think, well, yeah, I see some here. I want to talk about, you know what, why don't we talk, kind of you and I kick back and forth this concept of a naming convention and a consistent language with which we speak inside of our organization, because it's seemingly very simple, but I know that it's huge for us. And why don't you tell them why you think it's so critical that in our organization we have one standardized naming convention, and like the language that you and I and everybody in the group kind of uses to communicate?
Let's see. Well, I mean, overall, consistency just leads to more clarity. I think that's what our experience has been. So if the team, like if we all kind of speak the same language, more or less, there's less room for miscommunication.
Yeah. And so just to further kind of unpack that, like, I'll share with them something that we tactically do, like within our organization, that is really powerful. Again, like seemingly simple and straightforward. So like you heard us say at the beginning, like G and I have worked together for a long time. And so we are definitely speaking the same language when it comes to anything, you know, within the organization, work related, but we're not the only two doing things at the, you know, within the company. So when other people come into the organization, one of the very first things we do is we introduce them to our model, and we make sure that they're quickly indoctrinated, that they understand that here's how we say things, here's some of our abbreviations, here's our standardized naming convention for the files that you'll find in our share drive. Even something as simple as that. Just think about how, and I learned this lesson working in corporate, you know, a lifetime ago, when they have a dozen different people in a share drive, and everybody is encouraged to do work inside of the same drive, and then name things however they want and structure them and date them however they want. Things quickly get out of hand, and then you'll never find what you're looking for, because each person named it differently, placed it in a different location, dated it differently. So in our organization, we have a standardized convention for all of that type of stuff. And until someone, you know, new to the organization has proof themselves as understanding of that, we actually don't give them right access to any of our stuff. So, you know, they'll have visibility, they'll have downloader, viewer access to things, but until we know that they subscribe to that standardized convention for naming things, we actually don't give them access to those documents. And it's not about withholding anything in any capacity. It's just about how do we maintain the consistency to get the clarity that she's talking about. So is that fair? How to kind of like unpack that a little bit?
Yeah, I thought Box was actually a really good example. Or another thing as simple as subject lines on emails. That was a point of contingency for us for a little bit because things were getting lost, like important things like bids, things that we needed to be responsive on. And when you're looping people in on certain chains and whatnot, it's really important to be consistent when you need to touch base with someone or there's another member of the team who needs to chime in.
Yeah. We've so again, we deal with all this. We have a standardized approach to how we handle our meetings. So we talked about what's inclusive of your operating system. Well, it's the cadence with which you hold meetings. Well, beyond that, it's the format of the meetings as well. What's the agenda look like? There's a share, then there's a scorecard review, then there's an issues piece, then there's a headlines piece, right? So we have this meeting cadence, which is the frequency with which it happens, and then there's the agenda to which you kind of work in your meetings. And an issue presents itself. The issue is that there's inconsistency around these subject lines and how these emails are getting kicked around and things are being lost. And when things are lost, time is lost. When time is lost, dollars are lost. So what do we do? Well, what's the real issue? The real issue isn't that the stuff got lost. The real issue, at the result of the real issue, which is that there wasn't a standardized naming convention for the stuff. And so simple example, but again, lost time equals lost dollars. So we quickly identify what the real issue is, and we'll unpack, identify, discuss, and solve in another video. But what's the issue? What's the real issue? Let's discuss it, and then let's put in a process to solve it. And so there you go. That's an awesome example. That's essentially all we've got for you guys today. Again, we encourage you, if you find value in these videos, like, comment, share, subscribe if you're on YouTube, so you'll be notified automatically each time we get ready to, host one of these. The concept, the topic, today's topic is really powerful. It's about faith. It's about understanding that you absolutely cannot do it all by yourself. There are so many solopreneurs out there with the Superman syndrome. I know it. I had it, and you're only shortchanging yourself, your family, and the team that it is your right, duty, and obligation to build. So again, just to bring it full circle, build a true leadership team, work with them to break through the ceiling, stay consistent on the system, the operating system that you guys use, and no room for ego. And so I hope that you subscribe to those 4 core beliefs. I hope, again, that we've brought you value. I encourage you to comment here even after the fact. If you watch this post live, we'll continue to check these and engage with you guys there, and look forward to unpacking a new concept. Next week, we're going to talk on core values and culture and vision casting. So thank you guys, and we'll catch you guys next week.
Thanks, guys.